Let's talk about how we can find increasing and decreasing intervals, maxes and mins with our calculator. So if I'm given a function's formula, I'm going to go ahead and put that into my calculator. So let me pull this down so you can see. I've already put it in my y equals screen, just copied it right in there. For those higher exponents, you do use the caret key to get it to the fourth power or third power. You can use the regular square key for the second power. So I went ahead and I graphed it in the standard window. The problem is it's kind of hard to see. I don't need all these negative x's or even all these positive x's up here. And I definitely don't need all these y's, but I should go a little bit higher. So I'm going to adjust my window and say, all right, let's maybe start back at -3, and you can't see that, and then go up to maybe 5, because I don't need to go as far as it was. We don't need those negative y's, but we might want to go up a little higher to 20. So now if I hit the graph, it looks pretty much like the screenshot I have here. So I can now see a lot more detail. The detail I want to see is where are those low spots and high spots, because that's where it's changing from increasing to decreasing or vice versa. So the first thing we really have to identify is what are those peaks and valleys. And we use the calculate feature on this graphing calculator. So I'm going to hit second and calculate. And the first thing I want to choose is the minimum, because if I'm reading left to right, that's the first thing I'll see. So I've got 3 here, and it starts asking me a series of questions. The first question it's asking is, what's the left bound? Well, I'm focused in on trying to find that low spot there. So it wants to know what's something to the left of that. I'm going to use these sideways arrows to make sure that I move over. Yep, I'm definitely to the left, and I'm going to hit enter. Then it's going to ask what's the right hand side. So we need to move past the low spot and be somewhere on the right. So again, I'm going to move the cursor until it's blinking on the right spot of that valley down there and hit enter. Then it asks me to guess. So it's a little hard to read through these numbers down here, but I'm going to guess about there and hit enter the third time, and it will give me an answer. Now remember, the y value is the max or the min, and it occurs at the x value. So for this problem, I put down my first minimum was the 1.456 at this particular x. You would do the same steps for the minimum over here. To find the maximum, it's almost the same. The only difference is when we go to our calculate menu, instead of choosing number 3, we go to number 4. Okay, so it's the same questions, left, right, and guess. This right here, this top peak is what we're focused on, so I need to be to the left of that, but not like super far away. So that's something close, but to the left still of the peak. I'm going to mark that, and you notice the calculator does mark it there. Next question, what's a right bound? So we're going to go over the top and come down somewhere on the right-hand side. And there's no magic position to be in. Okay, as long as you know you've cleared it and are on the right side, you can hit enter to mark that. So now the calculator knows it's going to be finding a maximum somewhere between those 2 marked points. The final question is always guess. So we're going to guess I'm close to the top of the hill there and hit enter. And it thinks a minute, and now it tells me my maximum is, and it gives you an ordered pair, but you have to remember the maximum is actually the y value of that, and it occurs at the x value. This third point over here, I will just tell you, is going to be at x equals 3.642, and the y value would be 8.376. Using that, then we can come up with increase and decrease. So this initially is decreasing. So where are we coming from? We're coming from negative infinity until we get to this value here. Well, that was our first minimum, and that x value there was the 0.190. So I'm going to have decreasing from the negative infinity up to that x value, and then from the 0.190 until I get to this high spot, we're going to be increasing. That high spot occurred at the x equals 2.168. So I'm increasing from there to there. Now from that x value of 2.168 to this x value where the next minimum occurs, we are decreasing. So my second decreasing interval is 2.168 to, well, I told you that second minimum is going to be at x equals 3.642. So that's where that interval comes from. And then we have one more section. So once we hit that low spot, it begins to increase again. So from that x value forward to positive infinity, it's increasing. So from the 3.642 to infinity, it's increasing. All right, I went through that kind of fast, so feel free to rewind and revisit it, and then let me know if you have questions.